Hello everyone. Uh, in this video I'm going to show you the demand supply equilibrium. We already shown in our previous video about demand and supply and what's the mechanism of demand and supply, but in this video we're going to show the demand supply equilibrium. So demand and supply equilibrium. So this could be the final video of our basic economics. So we are very soon we are reaching to the advanced level of economics. So in case of equilibrium, first we need to know what is equilibrium is. Equilibrium is a situation in which the market price has reached the level at which the quantity supplied equals to quantity demanded. That's mean QD is equal to QS. This is the situation where we consider that the market is right now in equilibrium. So what is this point? Let's draw the equilibrium. In the equilibrium, if we want to find out the equilibrium, we have to consider both demand and supply in the same graph. So let's draw a demand curve. So this is our demand curve, it's denoted as D, and this is our supply curve, denoted as S. So we can see there is no other point except 1, and this is it. Let's consider it E, and this is the only point where demand and supply curve actually intersected. So in this point, this equation is true, where both quantity demanded and quantity supplied are equal. So QD equal to QS, and this point E. So this is our equilibrium, is where both demand and supply intersect. That is our equilibrium condition, or equilibrium point is. So what is equilibrium price? Equilibrium price, as we can see in here, this is it, that the price balances quantity supply and quantity demanded. The price balances quantity demand and quantity supplies. That is what equilibrium price is. Okay, what is equilibrium quantity? The quantity supplied and quantity demand at the equilibrium price. This means where in which quantity or what amount of quantity are equal, known as quantity demand and quantity supply, both are equal at what price. That is what is equilibrium quantity. Equilibrium quantity. So now we are going to see something, that one very key inference arises in such case, that surplus, market surplus and shortage. Market surplus and market shortage. What are these two terms actually means? Let's assume we are going to mark two graphs here, and both are equilibrium. P, Q, P, Q. So this is our two curve, and in this curve, in both curve, we are going to show what is surplus and what is shortage. So what is surplus in first case? Surplus is a situation in which quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. So that's mean quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. So how are we going to get it? Let's assume if the price is in here, and we know this is our equilibrium price, so denote it. This is our equilibrium price, and this is our equilibrium quantity, is E. So let's paste her. So if consider if price is higher than equilibrium price, then what happens? Producers are actually willing more to produce, but consumers are actually not willing to consume more. they must want to get more or purchase less. So as this is the demand curve and this is the supply curve, this will indicate the quantity supplied and this will indicate the quantity demanded. So what this curve is representing here, so if the price is in P1, so what is the quantity demanded? So quantity demanded is here, as it intersected the demand curve here and it intersected the supply curve here. So supply curve is indicating quantity supplied in here. So we can see that the quantity supplied is right now in better position than quantity demanded, and it's larger than quantity demanded. So we can easily say that the market has a supply condition. So this is what a supply is. You can denote in here or mention here as surplus. So this is how surplus look in where the quantity supplied is more than quantity demanded. Then another term arrive, how we are going to get shortage, and what does it mean, as this is supply and this demand. So this is equilibrium price epistle. So let's consider if the price is below the equilibrium price, so it must be lower than the equilibrium price. So let's consider the price is P2, and look here, the P2 price is intersecting the supply curve in here, so it would be the quantity supplied right now in the market, and it would be the quantity demand as the P2 curve is intersecting here, so it would express the quantity demand right now in the market here. So let's see how this is happening. So this is quantity demand QD and this is QS. So we can see in lower price than the equilibrium, the quantity demanded is larger than the quantity supplied. That means producers are not willing that much to produce and consumers are that very willing to consume more. So the demand, quantity demand in the market is greater than the quantity supplied in the market. So in this situation, one thing happens that is called market power or something like that. The market, according to classical economics, as this is classical economics concept, so classical economics is saying that the market force has enough power to adjust the equilibrium when the market is not in the equilibrium. How it's happened? Let's consider these two graphs very clearly. See, when here is the shortest. Okay, let's see the first graph, figure 1, and this figure 2. Okay, in figure 1 we can see that the market has excess supply and lower demand when the price is higher than the equilibrium price. So what happens if the price is too much and in market there is too many goods and services but no one is there to purchase them? What will happen? Producer will reduce the price of their goods and services to sell their produce, otherwise their goods and service will be not last that much more, so they will decrease the price of the goods and service. So if the decrease, and it will lead a decrease to equilibrium, and when the price decreases, when the producer start to decrease their price and their product demand actually started to increase at the same time, then from here the quantity demand will reach to here in the equilibrium. So, and this is what happens in case of surplus. But in case of shortage, looks what's happening here. We'll see there is less supply and excess demand existing right now. So what will happen? There is few goods and too many buyers, and what is going to happen? Like say there is 1 unit of banana, 1 unit, but there are 10 people wants to purchase this. What is going to happen? There will be a competition or bargaining. There will be a competition between consumers. Who is going to get it? Because everyone wants the banana. So if the price of the banana is 5 taka or $5, let's consider, when the consumers actually started to bargain or consumers started to competition, it will start lead and rise in the price of that banana. So it may reach to 7, 10 or 11, whatever it is, and there is actually some people exist or some consumer who is going to purchase this because everyone wants the banana. We can easily find out this kind of situation in our local markets, that when the supply is short, the producer can either increase the price so that they can get excess profit, and there are people who are willing to purchase with that excess amount of money. So this is what I mean. This will lead move to the equilibrium when the demand increases and price also increases as there is a competition between consumers. So when price increases, producer will get incentives to produce more. That will lead the QD to equilibrium condition, and QS to equilibrium condition. At the same time, if the quantity supplied rises, quantity demand also lead to an equilibrium condition. So that will lead to an equilibrium in here. So this is what classical economics says, that market has its own power to balance the equilibrium or make it reach to the equilibrium condition when the surplus and shortage exists in the market. Now, law of supply and demand. What is law of supply of demand? It claims that the price of any goods adjusts to bring the quantity supplied and the quantity demanded for that good into balance. So that is what law of demand and supply is. So right now we are going to see how what happens in the equilibrium if demand and supply shift due to several reasons, and why actually demand and supply shift. We have already shown them in our previous 2 videos named demand and supply. So we are not going to describe those in here, but we know the key ingredients of demand shifting element and supply shifting element. So that will lead a shift in demand and supply. So let's consider those things are leading and shifting in this equilibrium condition. So let's consider if demand and supply shift in the position of equilibrium, then how is we going to determine the equilibrium? So let's consider ice cream. Ice cream is a key ingredient. It has both demand and at the same time supply. Because producers are producing ice cream and consumers are purchasing ice cream. So it has both demand side and supply side. So this is our primary example. Let's consider. So in case of equilibrium, so let's find out. This is our equilibrium condition where S and T, Q, P, O. So this is our equilibrium condition, and mark it as so this is our primary equilibrium condition, E1, Q1, P1. If any kind of supply demand shifting element changes, like related prices, income, expectation, or anything, like whatever happens, though, like demand shifting elements, you can see our previous video named demand, there you will get that demand shifting element. So if one of those changes, that will lead shift. If the positive changes, if the change is positive, then it will lead a right shift in the demand curve. Let's consider it happens and it's raised to D1 from D. What happens? See, our previous, it was P1 and Q, and our secondary, it leads both and Q2 and P2. See, when the key ingredients of demand actually changes and positively changes, it will lead an increase in the price, at the same time increase in the quantity. Say if your income increases, or your taste and preference increases, or your expectation increases, that will lead a positive change in the demand curve, that will lead a right shift in the demand curve, and at the same time it will lead price increase and quantity increase at the same time. On the other hand, what happens if it's changed negatively? Say PQ D, and it leads a left shifting D2 and D1. So the demand curve left shifted. So look at here what happened. It was our previous key E1, and this is the second equilibrium E2. So this is P1 and P2, and it was Q1 and Q2. So we can see that a negative change in the demand curve will lead a price decreases and at the same time quantity decreases at the same time. So this is what happens when the this is two things what happens when the other ingredients except price happens to demand curve and demand curve shifts. So this is what happens, and it will lead both price and quantity at the same time increase or decreased. So let's see, it was in case of demand, in case of demand shifting. So, okay, it's in case of demand shifting. So what if the supply shifts? So let's see. This is our equilibrium. So we know that we have already three ingredients that leads a shift in the supply curve. Technology, expectations, and a number of sailors. So these are the three things that will lead a shift in the supply curve. So let's consider that leads a positive change. This means that leads a right shifting in the supply curve. So let's consider in here, if it's positively changed supply, that will lead S1 to S2. And what happens? Our previous equilibrium was here, and our new equilibrium became here. So see here what happened. Supply increased, price drops from P1 to P2, and quantity Q1 to Q2. Quantity increases from Q1 to Q2. Supply curve shift to the right as there is a positive change in those three key ingredients of supply shifting. Thus this price drops from P1 to P2, and quantity rises from Q1 to Q2. So let's see if the price is the supply curve shift to left. If there is a negative change in on those three ingredients of supply, that leads shifting in the supply curve, it will lead the increase in price from P1 to P2, and at the same decrease in the quantity. it increases the price and decreases in the quantity. So this is what happens when the supply curve shifts without changing the demand curve, and this is what happens when the demand curve shifts without changing the supply curve. So now we are going to see critical thinking. This is critical, so watch carefully. I'm going to show just few graphs when both supply and demand shift. Both supply and demand shift in the equilibrium. So let's see what happened. So this is our graph. This is demand curve and this is supply curve. So let's consider this is our primary supply and demand curve, and the equilibrium condition is E1, price is P1, quantity is Q1. In case if there is it could be several things, like if it's in this situation we have four type of graphs, because we have either the supply shift right and demand shift the left. Supply could be shift right and left. Okay, well, in case of figure 1, what happens if the demand shift right and supply shift right also? Both shifted right. So our new equilibrium is here, which is expressing a lower price but a greater in quantity. Okay, what happens if the supply shift to the right, sorry, demand shift to the right but supply shift to the left? So this is our primary equilibrium and this is our secondary equilibrium. We can see in here price increases, quantity decreases. Okay, now we are going to see if demand shift to the left, D1, D2, S1, and supply shift to the right. So we can see here and here. You can easily see the price decreases from previous and quantity increases. And other hand, if the demand shift to the left and supply shift to the right, supply shift to the left, so you can see that both price remaining same but the quantity actually decreases. So these are the key ingredients when supply and demand both shift at the same time And why this shifting is happening, we all know about those ingredients why supply and demand shift. So those are the key ingredients why supply and demand shift, and these are the basic things what happens if supply and demand shift both in the same time in equilibrium condition, and what would be the new equilibrium condition. So if you like the video, so please give a thumbs up to the video, and of course comment below to let us know how was the video. And if you want to know something about the video, please let us know in the comment box, or you can also message us. So of course please, and do subscribe my channel. And I'm very extremely sorry for my horrible English, and stay with me. Thank you.